Please be outstanding for the town manager. Thank you.
So we're going to stand. I'm not. No, I don't.
Good evening, everyone. Please be seated. Notice of meeting. Public notice of meeting is given in accordance with Schedule 12, paragraph 10.2 of the Local Government Act 1972. First agenda item, apologies for absence. To receive and resolve on apologies for inability to attend.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. We have apologies from Councillors Abbott, Barnett, Brown, Turner and Wild. Thank you.
Can we receive those apologies? Councillor Cochran, seconder. Councillor Lehman, all those in favour? Against? Abstentions? Agenda item 2, declaration of interest. To declare any interest which members have in the following agenda items. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillors? No. Thank you. Agenda item 3, public participation. Standing orders will be suspended for up to 15 minutes to allow for questions or statements submitted by members of the public, limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak? Thank you. Mr. Ward.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, councillors. A little bit higher. How's that? Am I now audible? First. So, my apologies for not having attended recently. As you've probably heard, I'm not very well at all. The expression "one foot in the grave" comes to mind, but don't rejoice, I'm still here. Why I've elected to speak to you this evening is that my friend and colleague, Councillor Rob Barnett, is in a very poorly state. As I think you know, he's tendered his absence, apologies for absence, and I've come here to ask you this evening if you would join me in signing a get well card. It so happens that on Thursday I will be attending treatment at James Cook Hospital, where Councillor Barnett is presently incarcerated, and I intend to visit him. So I'd like to just pass this to Councillor Lane, and maybe it could go around clockwise, and those of you who wish to tender your best wishes to Councillor Barnett, pop your names on it, and I will make sure it gets delivered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. Just a quick point. I've brought up on a couple of occasions about the Maritime Board, the Town Hall and the regeneration of the town centre. It's coming to the public realms, I believe, on Facebook last week in other sources. £1.3 million apparently has been squandered already on the Maritime Board. There's nothing done, and kindly the councillors approached me tonight regarding the state of the pavements. The state of the harbour, the state of the pavements, but £1.3 million has gone on what you know I've called skins and scammers. I think the council should be asking questions about where all this money goes to when the town is in such a bad state of repairs. The streets are terrible, and as I say, Mike kindly saw the pavements for me in the summer, didn't he, Mike? And he's approached council about it. But I think the town council needs to ask questions now where this 1.3 million that's been reported in the press and Facebook and that, where the money has gone, because it's just been siphoned away and nothing's been done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll cover more of that item on when we get to the clerk's report. Thank you. External reports. To receive reports on behalf of external bodies if present. We don't have Anglo-American as far as I'm aware. North Yorkshire Police, no. We'll go on to the North Yorkshire Councillors then, please. Mr. Carr. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm very grateful to our member of the public for lifting the microphone up. It suits me better at this height.
My pleasure. I think only it's my pleasure.
So a few things to report this time, and of course it's a couple of months since we gave a report, and I'm sure Councillor Trumper will also have additional items to bring, and then as usual we're happy to answer your questions about these points and for that matter any other issues that you want to bring up. I suppose the first bit of good news to report is that approval has been given to go ahead with the low carbon village on the Greenfield Park development. I don't think it's fair to call it the Abbey View estate, because I think that is really the Barrett development, but it is that wider development which includes the Barrett estate. And if you remember, there was an allocation within the town deal funding for a self-build element to that estate. That is not now going to happen as self-build, but it will be built out, whilst previously we had feared the worst on that when the contractors pulled out in February 23. It will now go ahead, pretty much as planned. The original proposal was for 60 properties, 60, and the approval now is for 49, so we've lost 11. But very good news on that is that they will be 100% affordable. So in other words, there's no market element within that group of properties that are being built out there. And of course the big positive about that was that they were going to be built to a very high environmental low carbon standards. And that involved at the time the use of the Wonder Wall heating system, which I think is something that comes from Tesla and Elon Musk, so an appropriate reference to make this evening. But that will no longer be part of the development, but it will be built, I believe, to passive house standards, which for those who follow these things, I think is a very, very positive outcome. And so I think we'll see over the next period, fairly short period, that development will now go ahead alongside both the Barrett and the Stonebridge developments that are still building. For those who missed it, and I think it was pretty much everybody in this room, there was a meeting of the North Yorkshire Council Area Committee, which took place in Whitby at the Spa, the Pavilion, October the 3rd, I think it was the first week in October. I do try and publicise these as much as possible, but I don't know whether you want to make a note of this, Mr. Newtown Park Server. These happen now alternately between Scarborough and Whitby after some intervention by both myself and Councillor Trumper to make sure that they weren't all in Scarborough. But the attendance of Whitby people has been very, very light, shall we say, which is disappointing because there is the opportunity for members of the public to speak, as with all public meetings. And there's also the opportunity, obviously, to try and get things onto the agenda which are of relevance to Whitby rather than just Scarborough. And that, the one that took place at the beginning of October, I think was very positive. The first part of it I introduced, which was a promotion of a new piece of work that has been done for the Esk Valley line, which of course is our sole rail connection out of Whitby apart from the steam railway to Pickering. The Esk Valley Railway Development Company, which I have to declare an interest as now having joined the board of that company, which as I stressed at the area committee meeting, pays me no salary nor do I receive any benefit from it. But nonetheless, I'm very pleased to be part of the Community Rail Partnership, which is promoting that line, because I believe there is the possibility of making that much better used by the people of Whitby. At the moment, it's mostly a tourist line, largely because it takes an hour and a half to get from here to Middlesbrough. And if you're competing with the bus, which driving, which is about 45 minutes, it's not a very good option. But if we could get the time down to a competitive timing for the rail line, which this booklet is proposing, then I think it would be used by a lot more people. Because at the moment, unfortunately, the service is also so infrequent that it's difficult to use for appointments like James Cook, which it should be used on a regular basis for. At the moment, it's a very pretty line and very well worth the trip. If you've ever been, you see parts of the North Yorkshire moors and the area north of us, which you don't see from a car. And it's a very tranquil and pastoral area, but nonetheless, people want to use that line for work, school and college, and to get to the hospitals, etc. So I'm going to push very hard to try and get those journey times up, down I should say, and the frequency up, because both of those need attention. And we have already, since that meeting of the area committee, just to prove it actually does achieve something, managed to persuade the North Yorkshire Council to release the very large sum of money, 106 million, that it's been keeping in section 106 funding, to support further developments on that line. And I think the first bit is going to be spent on motorising the points in Whitby, which will avoid the necessity for someone to jump out of the train in all weathers and go and move the points manually. But it also speeds up the whole operation as well as protecting health and safety. So there is a very, very good booklet which I would commend to you called A New Beginning, and it's a thorough proposal, though one part of it is to persuade North Yorkshire to partner with 106 million, which is now sorted as far as I'm aware. The other element of the area committee which I would highlight for you, because I know it's a common concern, and that is the issue about the use of houses for second homes and short-term lets. And I reminded our new MP, who was present at the meeting, that unfortunately the previous government had failed to clinch the changes that had been announced in February this year by Michael Gove, which I have to say I fully support, which are to change the planning rules so that it requires a planning application to change your house from being a residential property to being short-term let, but also to require registration of all short-term lets in the area by the local authority. And I hoped that that was going to be delivered by the last government before the general election, but it didn't even appear in the wash-up to deal with the last bits of unfinished legislation before the new government came in. So I'm equally keen to press the new government, and I will be continuing to do that, and it's not to do with party loyalty or party disloyalty, it's about actually making sure we get for Whitby a change in the law so that we can actually get a lot more of our houses, or retain as many of our houses as possible for residential use, and people working in Whitby don't have to go and live in Loftus or Broughton in order to buy or rent a house that they can afford. I attended a briefing with the Highways Department and the head of Environment, Carl Battersby. I won't go into any details on that because Phil attended as well, he may have other points on it, but the one that I just wanted to highlight was that he announced formally at that meeting that Paul Thompson, who was the Assistant Director with responsibility for quite a lot of things within North Yorkshire Council, but the bit that interests me is responsibility for harbours. He has unfortunately been off sick for 2.5 months, and he will not be coming back to his post, and that post has then been subsumed into another directorship, that of Callum McKeon, who was specialised in regulation. And the department will then be called Regulation and Harbours, which I'm not sure of your view on that, but mine is a little bit sceptical that we'll get the specialism that we need for Whitby Harbour and Scarborough Harbour when there are so many things to be done. I did meet in an online call with Joe Coles, the Deputy Mayor for North Yorkshire and York, combined authority, who has responsibility for crime and the police, and discussed with her the issue that we have about the boy races, which I mentioned at the last meeting. In particular, having the police expertise that is available to check vehicles to make sure that they are fit for the road and actually meet the construction and use regulations. The issue being, of course, the conversion of cars to have modified exhausts which make an horrendous noise at all times of the day and night. The police are on top of it, but they need more resources, and I believe we also need to try and provide some alternative activity for these youngsters who are not bad lads and girls particularly there, but they need to be hopefully encouraged to do things a bit more sociable and supporting the community rather than causing problems. I'll finish on Anglo-American, since we don't have anybody here from Anglo-American, and I did attend a meeting of the Anglo-American liaison committee, which I think all town councillors are invited to. I'm not sure how that invite happens, but I know colleague Councillor John Knock attended, 2 of us attended that meeting. Somewhat saddening in many ways, because obviously what it was describing in the main was the slowdown of activity at the Woodsmith mine and the steps that they're taking to keep things going to some extent until there's some kind of arrangement which would allow them to finance them moving to the point where they can start mining the polyhalite and putting it onto the market. Because at the moment a lot of money has been spent, but not a single ounce or gram, maybe we should say, of polyhalite has actually been sold, and therefore there's no income into the mine. And getting over that hump is really important. But in the meantime, we were told that both the Scarborough and the Wilton offices of Anglo-American, the Scarborough one was, I think it was a housing association before. It's as you come in on the south, on the borders of Eastfield. It was a very nice circular building, which I did have the honour of visiting immediately after the announcement. That is to close, unfortunately, as is the Wilton one. Slightly good news was that they have now broken through with the tunnel at Ladycross, which means that they obviously don't have to get their staff down into the tunnel further north, and it means they can start working at some point in the future on shutting down the intermediary station, and it's the final lap of getting from Ladycross through to Woodsmith that is necessary. They're also still driving down the service shaft, though not the production shaft, in order to get into the hard sandstone layers which they were just beginning to encounter before the slowdown. And the reason for that is they need to prove to potential investors that this is a viable mine and they can actually mine through the sandstone layers and get to the polyhalite. So the production shaft has stopped, but it does mean that there are 450 job losses, and 90 of those are from York and North Yorkshire, 135 from Tees Valley. They have talked about 110 redeployed to other projects, and some of those projects are in Hartlepool. I have to say, I did point out afterwards to the main person from Anglo-American that, whilst they're in Hartlepool, that might seem local, but I mean, it's far enough away for people to up stumps if they've settled in Whitby and think, well, maybe it makes more sense to sell it in Whitby and go and live closer to Hartlepool. And so it's positive in an individual sense, but not necessarily in a collective sense. So I think I'll finish there, Mr. Mayor, and hand over to my colleague, Councillor Phil Trumpet, and obviously we'll take any questions at some point if you want to answer.
Here, Councillor Trumpet, and then we'll take questions at the end for Councillor. Thank you.
Pretty kind of a double act, really, yeah.
Yeah.
But welcome to the new class. Hope you do well in your position, and hope all the councillors support you, and we're here to support you as well, myself and Neil. So yeah, I mean, Neil talked about the ACC, and it was quite a good meeting actually. And I was going to talk about trains, but it's still in my but I will mention that it was quite a good report on by the SLE, where we're organisation, and it did highlight the many issues with the network and the many improvements that could be made to speed up the network and actually increase the amount of journeys that could be possible from the station. And I was 100% behind that report, and it needs to progress. But I also think that the combined authority, the new combined authority, and the new mayor, new North Yorkshire mayor, has a lot should be involved in this process as well. It's coming into the position, and it's kind of that role now is the mayor's kind of responsibility. So hopefully you will support the improvements that are required for the network and to improve the connectivity from Whitby into the WTC side and further afield. Also at the ACC we did talk about harbours, and that's coming to the next ACC at the end of November, and the cliff lift, hopefully the report on the cliff lift will be discussed at that meeting. So fingers crossed we'll get more information on the cliff lift at that meeting. Myself, I've been very busy, mainly helping out the town council in events, the Remembrance Sunday this Sunday, and the Christmas festival a week, well, starting on the 15th of November. So yeah, I think Neil's covered quite a lot of the points I was going to make, but I'll take questions from you, from members.
Councillor Cotton.
Sorry, I wanted to speak to Neil. I can tell you the same thing actually, though. First of all, the last time we had a go at the boy races, the police spent a lot of time stopping them, and it was found out that they were all young people who lived at home, so they didn't have families, they didn't have mortgages to pay for, and their vehicles were absolutely spot on. Their vehicle was their baby, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with the vehicles. The other thing was that the round building opposite Morrison's was skipped in Building Society, which was designated as going to be Scarborough Council's new town hall. They pulled down the Opera House and they did various things in preparation. They put it to the people of Scarborough, and they said, we don't want to go all the way out there to customer first and so on. So they had to stay where they are in the town hall, which is very tobacco. People of Scarborough said no. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Knock.
Thanks for that. As you're still on your feet, Phil, we were promised a temporary TRO to prevent camper vans parking on the promenade to start in September, then it went back to October, then November, and now we're reading it may take place next spring. Can we have some definitive answers on this? Because I get asked about this quite a lot.
No, yeah, you asked me quite a lot as well.
I still don't get the answer.
So you do get the answer because it was supposed to come in on the 1st of November. However, like all of these situations, there's people that disagree and challenge these legal, these kind of traffic. Yeah, I mean, the point basically, it was supposed to be on the 1st of November, it was challenged basically by a member of the public for certain reasons. So the council decided not to proceed at this moment in time with a temporary TIO. However, they are looking at introducing a permanent one. So they have to go through the process again, the legal process, to introduce the permanent TIO, which is go through the consultation process, and then once the consultation process has been finalised, then they can go and introduce the permanent TRO. So that's where we are at the moment. So it basically was challenged. So they were concerned that it could end up with legal implications for the council.
Okay. David Chance has said that he believes there's an ancient bylaw that prohibits the launching of jet skis from the slip at the ravine. It can't be that ancient because the slip has only been there for about 14 years. So do you have any information on that? Is there a bylaw in place?
The ancient bylaw.
Sorry?
The slip.
He said there's an ancient bylaw.
Yeah, the slip's only been there since late 1980s. When it was basically when they extended the seawall down to Ganley Green. In regards to bylaw, these are bylaw that dates back about 20 to 30 years, maybe 30 years, but not in regards to launching.
Excuse me, can we just have the one meeting, please? Yes. Councillor Swanage, can we just have the one meeting? Thank you, Grant.
Not in regards to launching jet skis. So the harbour, obviously the harbour master has responsibility over the launching of vessels into the harbour, into the sea, off their own land. So I'm not sure whether the idea of the bylaw regarding jet ski launching.
Right. Well, perhaps if there's any streams you can pull to get some enforcement if the harbour master does have authority, that should make sure there's things included for you.
Enforcement on
Launching.
Yeah.
And also they are not supposed to exceed 8 knots within 300 metres of the shore. Frequently exceeding 8 knots within 30 metres of the shore.
Okay. I'm not. Like I say, I'll have to speak to the harbour master about that.
Okay.
And then he can give me more information on the rules regarding the jet ski launch from that slipway.
Okay.
But not allowed to launch from the harbour. That's why they moved to the slipway.
Okay. Thanks. Mr. Murphy, can I make some comments to Councillor Swanage?
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. You made a comment about members of this council not going to the area committee. Well, there's a good reason for that. This council has little faith in North Yorkshire Council to do the right thing for Whitby or its residents. The message has come to you before that North Yorkshire Council treats this council and its residents with contempt. And nothing has happened in the last few months to change our view on that. As far as your comment on planning is concerned, there is now so much deregulation within the planning rules and so much more deregulation promised that now most of the things that come before this council are going to be a matter of permitted development. And it is disgraceful. I know this is your problem, it's a central government problem. I know it's disgraceful that central government has allowed the law to degenerate to such a degree that people can throw up what they want and then get planning permission for it afterwards. It's very, very weak governance that has brought this about. Not a criticism against you, but it's a criticism against planning. And there's a comment about Anglo-America now that the revenues here, Matt did say at the meetings that we attended that there might be another takeover in the offing. We've heard nothing about it, so do we take it that has not happened yet?
Can we leave that for when Matt speaks?
Yeah.
In which case, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Harrison.
Yes, some things that I think if I can have both of them, to both councils. Last the two council meetings, the member of the public brought up about the holes of the quayside. I spoke to you in the working that day, I understand that. You remember that? When you were Mr. Buck? You were going in to the...
Yeah, I did ask you to send an email. Take a photograph and send an email.
It would be safe, yeah. I'll tell you what happened. I went into the harbour master, who told me it's his responsibility. He was off actually, but the girl said it's their responsibility. I said, will you come and have a look at this? She didn't have time. She went over. She emailed me and said, the holes out there, one of them is 60 million deep. It's a hole in the pavement. There's about 6 more, which I completed the details. I'll be brief, I'm coming in. So she said, they're getting good. She reported to the council, and I sent an email telling her, we'll get sorted out. And I said, please, thank you. I came back, I've been away to Spain, I've come back, I missed it, got coffee, obviously. Came back, and there's the holes in the pavement. So I went and see the girl and I said, what's happened? She said, oh, I'm sending an email now after 5 weeks, 4 weeks, to say that they're going to be done by, they're going to schedule to recover the pavement. This is not acceptable. I don't want as a council to go after you. I'm bothering you both all the time. I know this, different things. You get good information. I want to be able to do it myself. And I don't know why, but there's holes in that pavement and I can't do something about it. And I don't know why they're going to reschedule to resave this thing. That means they're going to put it back to another couple of more years. This is dangerous. What can we do to stop this happening? I'm furious about this because I thought it was done.
Is it your ward? Is it in your ward?
It's in Whitby.
No, I mean,
no,
it's a process thing. I mean, did you contact the clerk to ask the clerk to process this and pass it on to area 3?
No, because I thought it was completed. I was told that happened that they've got it sorted and they were going to repair it. So they've just received an email to say it's going to be rescheduled as it doesn't need that. It needs emergency repair. Now, I don't want to bother you. People try to say that I do all the time. Is it not possible that I can have some say in this and talk to something? I know somebody else has said, I didn't know what cut back and tell me that. It was only you. But the fact is, can I do something about myself? Without the chain of network. You guys are busy, you can't see that, obviously you are. But if I'm a Whitby Town Councillor, why can't I do something about that firm? There's no way we can improve on this.
Well, you can do something about it.
Oh, can you tell me?
Well, I mean, you can take a photograph, then email whoever's responsible. I mean, you can find out from the town clerk who's responsible for that area. And then you
it's the harbour master. I did this, Bill. You know, I don't need the town councillors to say it's my area. I found out on the quayside, new key roads to the harbour. Why isn't it being repaired? Why can't I do something about that? This is a safety call. You know, if anybody chips in there, it's a 60 million gap. They'll go over. Ian showed me, and I went and looked, I couldn't believe it. And I'm frustrated it's not getting done. Is there any way we can improve this? Where I can talk to somebody myself. I'm capable of phoning up and saying, can you do this? I spoke to some guys that were there at the time at the top. And I asked them, I said, well, do this, do that. And I did. I spoke to the same day. I find out now, all this time later, 8 weeks after, we've never done public reporting. It's not been done. Which is not a criticism against you two.
No, I mean, it's been like that for a while and it doesn't need doing. And like I say, it's just, I don't know why it hasn't been done, and it should have been done by now.
Is there anything we can do to help? On the side, on the key side. How the last is off.
We chase people all the time, and we're always pushing them.
She wouldn't give this guy any for phone.
And I think the frustration is apparent, and we equally get frustrated at things that don't seem to happen as quickly as they should do.
Okay, a second, we'll continue with the second.
Well, there's going to be 3 because we've got other councillors waiting to speak.
Well, John had 3 points. It's very important. You and I going to say that. Because the member of the public announced the member of the public. The double rate system is coming to this area. Are we all aware of this, right? Second home was met.
Yeah, we're aware of that, yes.
Few people, I didn't know this. So my rates are going to double. And some more, shortly. I've never heard of that in the second home. Now, what's happening? You said something here ago. I took off the market today. We're going to rent it. Am I allowed to rent it now? Or is this going to be a problem? It's me what you said there. I'm still allowed, am I allowed to rent this, my place?
I believe so.
Right, okay. The last thing I want to say, this, because I know those are right being with me, the member of the public saying now has been asking about my eligibility to be on the council. Well, he's got his final wish, because it's only my last year, you know, so
This guy's hounded me for over a year now. Why can't I speak to you about it? He's been making about you asking about my age and well, we'll do that last week. Really furious about it. So,
Councillor Mulhead.
Building on from what you've just said, and from what John has also said, maybe it would be a good idea to invite the harbour masters to the next meeting. And I thought if you had a business in Whitby, which your house would be, you could still stand on the town council. So you can stand on the town council. Okay.
it's number 3. There was 1 and 2, I get number 3.
Yeah, I mean, you do have you still have a harbour commiseration.
Yes.
The harbour masters generally did attend those meetings and provide information as to them at those meetings. So I don't know if that still goes on with harbour master attendance, or if it's been invited. But
Make sure he's not.
he used to attend those meetings. And also you have a representative on the harbour users group as well, from the council. And that person, whoever representative, I don't know who that is at the moment, they're in that position to pass on town council's frustrations and points to the harbour users group, and then take back information from that harbour users group and then report back to the town council. So I don't know who's on that group, and then they should be at this meeting should be then reporting back to this meeting if anything discussed. So there's already processes in place that have been established for quite a few years.
Thank you. Councillor Ripples.
You say about permits for motorhomes. How is that going to reduce the amount of motorhomes that are going to be down packed up? Because presumably you mean that you're going to get a permit to be able to stay overnight.
I don't know the permit.
I think there's very confusion between permit and permitted.
Right. Sorry, I thought it...
Permits were mentioned.
So there's no permits. So the TRO on the seafront area.
Right.
Where do you mean? Sorry, Chris.
That's right, I missed it. Just one thing about the slip. That was the second lifeboat station for Whitby, up to 1930. It was a proper slip over there. So when is the bylaw put in that it wasn't allowed to use?
Well, that's what I was trying to find out.
Yeah, because in that up to 1930 it was a lifeboat station.
Yes, I know, but the slip that's there now was put in about 1980.
Is repaired. Yeah, no, that's the only point.
Well, yeah, it's been asked to establish that there is a bylaw against the launching of jet skis.
Just one thing to Councillor Swanee. Go back to the old Chester of affordable housing. 95% of the population of Whitby can't afford affordable housing. So is it just going to be the usual 80% off, or are there going to be other ways of getting onto the housing ladder using these 49 houses?
Shall I come back to you?
Yeah.
First of all, can I give my apologies to you, Mr Mayor, and to my fellow councillor for speaking during this contribution. I can assure you that I was just briefing the representative from Anglo-American on what I'd said about them, so that he, if he's offered a chance, can actually give a fuller and probably more straightforward explanation of what was happening with Anglo-American. There was a point, I think, from Councillor Knock challenging the use of area committee. I have a lot of sympathy with him. I have to say, I don't think that the unitarisation of all the 8 councils across North Yorkshire into one council and then the amalgamation with York has been an unmitigated success. It has to be said, I think there has been a democratic deficit in that process. We have lost something, in other words, and it's not entirely clear how we can actually reverse that. I think one way certainly is through the area committees, because they are the lowest level of organisation that can actually make recommendations to the executive about things that should be happening in each of the areas. So I think it would be wrong to boycott it or saying it's of no use to us, beyond contempt or whatever the words you used, Councillor Mott. But because I think you should try and use it as best we can, because it's all we've got. I think it to some extent fits with Councillor Harrison's point about who's actually responsible for local decisions. And my feeling is that there should be a manager for Whitby who is of sufficient seniority and sufficient breadth across the organisation to take responsibility for many of the things that either fall on the town clerk or fall on myself or Councillor Trumpet, when in fact there should be somebody employed to do this. And I understand that does happen in some parts of North Yorkshire. So I'm keen to work with your town clerk to see how we can get some movement on that, because I guess we thought that double devolution actually meant that we were going to bring some of those decisions closer to local people, and in reality it doesn't seem to be happening, certainly at the speed that it should be. So I think you make a valid point, Councillor Mott, but I would urge you not to give up at this point and boycott the area committees, because that is the lowest level of decision making that we have, and we should use it as such. Can I just move on to Councillor Riddle's question, which I think you addressed to me specifically, didn't you? Just can you repeat it for me? Sorry.
Affordable housing, what is it? It's meant to be 80%, is it? Yeah. So I would suggest about 90% of people we can't even afford that to buy a house. There's, if the average wage is 25,000, which I think is generous in Whitby, 5 times that, you can only afford a £125,000 house. So how are these houses that are going to be built, these 49, are they going to have one of these where you can buy 50% of it, or is it just literally going to be put on the market as affordable?
Well, there's a straightforward answer to that. In the case of the properties that are being built on Broomfields, the 49 properties I was talking about, there are no properties being put on open market sale. Therefore, the discount approach does not apply. What the affordable homes are comprised of are 50% shared ownership, which is as you described, and 50% social renting. And I think that's a really good outcome, because we actually need more properties that people can afford to rent as well.
So you're saying it's more social housing than affordable housing?
I'm not sure of your definition.
Point of order. The definition of affordable housing is, by law, the 25%, used to be 20%, now it's 25%, houses in the building must be within 80% or 75% of the average of the houses. So if you're going to build affordable houses only, I don't know where that's coming from, but that answer we just gave about the change in scope of it, that's probably right. It's not affordable housing as such.
I think you're on the right track with that, Councillor Harrison, but I don't think you're quite there. The calculation on affordable housing is complicated, and I wouldn't try to go through it now, because I couldn't read up on it to talk about it. But these are actually slightly better than that, because they're not open market discounts. They are shared ownership 50% and social rented 50%, and that's very concrete. Was that all the points that we wanted to cover?
Good. And Councillor Knott, did you just want to come back?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As far as the affordable houses are concerned, the developer builder is getting about £60,000 per property towards the cost. So it costs on average to build an average home, which won't be carbon neutral, about £85,000. Well, if it's going to cost about £120,000, they're getting a 50% help towards it. So we ought to be able to sell, to make those available as substantially affordable houses, not just marginally affordable houses, which I think you were referring to. Another point, we used to have a senior councillor attend these meetings, part of whose brief it was to look after specifically Whitby's interests. And it's disappointing to see that North Yorkshire Council has not provided anyone to do that. It would be good if that happened. And as far as the Harbour Master is concerned, he used to attend these meetings here on a regular basis in uniform. And it would be nice if we could encourage him to do that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any further questions for North Yorkshire Council? If not, I'd like to thank you very much for your time and attention. Could I have a from Anglo-American view?
Yeah, but first of all, apologies, there was a communication mix-up at our end and I thought it was starting to loss it, so apologies for that. Now, I understand the council's trying to do some more job for me, but I will keep it brief because our time is cracking on. So, as I explained when I last came in July, that unfortunately we're slowing down the pace of construction of the Whitby project for the reasons that I went into in July. So we're now in the process of implementing those changes. So what's really clear, we're not stopping, but we are slowing down. So the sinking of the service shaft is continuing, and we're soon going to be sinking the shafts through the Sherwood sandstone. The production shaft sinking has paused, as has the lateral development work at the mine site. The tunnel is currently on a planned maintenance stop, and we shall be restarting again towards the end of the year, beginning of next year, but at a reduced progress rate than previously. So we're currently the process at the Ladycross site, the intermediate shaft site along the tunnel route. We're connecting the shaft there to the tunnel, and when we restart, the workers will access the tunnel from Ladycross rather than Lockwood back. So clearly the size of the workforce is reducing in line with the reduced scope of work. So we expect from the pre-slowdown to the sort of the first part of next year, the workforce to reduce by 60% to around 800 to 900 people. So it will still be one of the most significant employers in the area, albeit there will be people that are losing their jobs. So around 450 people of the total number of people whose jobs have been impacted have left. With a further 450 leaving by the end of this year, beginning of next year. So everybody who is going to be impacted by that knows who they are. They're staggered leaving times. In terms of where the impacted people come from, around 90 from York and North Yorkshire, more specifically Whitby, around 30. Where possible, our contractors are redeploying people to other projects. So far, around 200 people have been redeployed onto other projects. What we're finding is that many people, and this is anecdotal, but many people, particularly those with technical skills and those that are involved in construction, are moving on to other employment opportunities, particularly to new projects that are starting in Teesside. As I think I touched upon when I last came, we've put a support programme in place to ensure that all of those people who are impacted, so not just the Anglo-American people, all the people who are impacted have got access to support and training. So we are currently engaged around 300 of the people that are impacted, and we can pretty much support them support them all with the training that they require. So that's between us, local councils and the combined authority providing that support. So we're filling in the gaps where people aren't eligible or people need us to respond really quickly. So they've been offered a job but they need to get a construction ticket in order to get that job. We're continuing with our social programmes that are focused on young people, so that's our Achieve programme, that's equipping young people to achieve their potential. So we are we're engaged really closely with Whitby School, and also Turning Tides, our emotional wellbeing and health programme that is targeted at 15 to 21-year-olds. So that includes working with young people in Whitby. And the foundation is continuing to fund projects and will continue to do so throughout the slowdown period. And just to address Councillor Knott's comment about takeovers, so there was some speculation in the media a couple of weeks ago. So as you remember, BHP, the world's largest mining company, put in 3 bids that were all turned down by Anglo-American's board. There was speculation in the media that they may come back to make another bid for Anglo-American. So under UK takeover regulations, they're allowed to do that again from the 29th of November. So we have no idea whether that will be the case or not. So it's media speculation. So it's not quite right to say that there might be. We have absolutely no idea. So there is nothing to report on that score. Yes.
Any questions then? Councillor Ribbles.
How are you doing with your apprenticeships? Have any actually qualified yet? And
Yeah.
if they have, what are
Yeah, so
how their job say?
So yes, the very short answer is yes. So we have had a cohort that have all graduated, and we're retaining all of those, and the ones that are still continuing in their apprenticeships, they're all being retained.
And are you, the ones you've got going through at the moment?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much for your
apologies again.
And could I just receive the reports from Anglo Council? We can get in touch with North Yorkshire Buildings. It has been a while since they've been physically here to give a report. It would be useful if we could.
I did actually write them before this meeting, but I'll contact you.
Thank you very much.
Is it the report good enough?
Well, I think
I am quite happy with it.
I think either would be very useful. Yes, if you could ask for written reports, but like you say, a lot of the information is contained in the written report. Right, moving on, minutes. 5A. First of all, to approve as an accurate record the minutes of the following meeting, Full Council, held on the 10th of September 2024. Councillor Smith, seconder. Councillor Mulhern, all those in favour? Against? Abstentions? To receive the draft minutes of the following committee meetings. Planning and licensing on the 24th of September, Human Resources on the 4th of September, and the Joint Management Committee on the 17th of September. Do you want to take them individually or on block?
May I ask a question?
Certainly.
With regards to the Joint Management Committee, it talks about a budget. Could you explain which budget that is, what the actual budget is, Joint Management Committees? It says we're working party to the budget, I just wonder what the actual budget.
Yeah, that would be the financial budget for 25-26.
So that's referring to the town council's budget. My take on that would be it would be form part of the budget of the town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to take them individually or on block? On block. A second to take on block. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions?
Just want to get the comments and questions on those minutes.
Which ones, councillor?
I can number them 14824, 15024,
So you've
15524.
We'll talk about planning, human resources, or management.
Sadly, I can't get them up on this because of my ineptitude.
So say it again, Councillor.
14824.
Declaration of interest. Councillor Smith and S. Smith declared any interest in item 9 committee vacancies Whitby and Blue.
Yes. 14824. Just a point on that. The councillors Smith, I understand, are still trustees of Whitby and Blue, and as at the last meeting, the accounts for Whitby and Blue were some 1,100 days late, and now about 1,200 days late. Is there any sign of those accounts being submitted yet to the Charity Commission?
You will find that 1 year, the first years have been submitted and been accepted by them, and the subsequent years are in the process of, and hopefully at the end of this communication, all have been submitted. But we can only submit in year order, and we've, as I say, we've got the first one submitted.
That's encouraging, thank you. 150. 15024. Yes, North Yorkshire Council report. Perhaps I should have asked Councillor Swanwick about this when he gave his report. Never mind. He commented at the last council about the capstones. One of those certainly has been installed, and another 3 are in progress. I know that because I've seen them being made. And the chap who's putting them in is not a deputy joiner, he's an architectural joiner. Just so that people know what he is. And in that same article, Councillor Swanwick mentioned the fact that the whale bones need some attention. That is not the joiner's speciality.
No.
I just thought
Thank you very much.
mention that because it clarifies. Thank you.
Is that it, Councillor?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other queries? If not, moving on to agenda item 6, committee recommendations, or no committee recommendations going forward. We now on to agenda item 7, notices of motion. 7.1, proposed by Councillor Riddle, seconded by Councillor Abbott. Not here at the moment. If a council is not able to attend the meeting, then it is up to the council to send apologies to the town clerk. If the council wishes to appoint a particular substitute to attend in their place, then they can make their wishes known at the same time. Otherwise, at the beginning of the meeting, if there is a substitute attending and the meeting is short of numbers, then the substitute can join the meeting as a voting member if the committee is short of elected members. Before we discuss this motion, I would need another seconder. Councillor Lehman, thank you. Councillor Wiggles, do you wish to speak to this proposal?
Yeah, basically, the concern I have is that as long as the person who can't attend has gone through the office, then I think it seems a shame that if you have a substitute at the meeting, they can't substitute as we do it at present, because he has to, just the process, all I want is that if there's a substitute at the meeting and the person who can't attend has made his apologies to the town clerk, then any substitute should be able to sit in the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Knott?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has already been covered, and there is a protocol in place to do more or less what you say. The potential absentee under the protocol, has a duty to notify the clerk of his inability to attend, and also to ask a sub. Sub should notify the clerk that he's approached, and that he has agreed to attend. That is the protocol we have, if I remember. That's been in place for over a year. But unfortunately, councillors are not the best at appointing subs to attend. But there is a protocol already in place. But also, unfortunately, we have a total of 9 substitute seats available on council. There are 2 for licensing, 2 for the art gallery, 3 for TDI, and 2 for harvest. So, whatever we do, whether we stick to the old model or adopt yours, we're going to have trouble finding substitutes, which is an aside.
Councillor Lehman.
I think what Councillor is saying is that the existing protocol is too restrictive. If there is a substitute there, why can't that substitute just go straight into the meeting? Why does he have to be nominated?
Well, he can.
He can't. He has to be nominated.
You can't. Yeah.
Unless
Unless the councillor that has isn't going to attend has reported it to the town clerk.
Unnecessarily restrictive.
Well, they can't. They can't sit.
I understand what you're saying, but my understanding was that if the sub was there at the meeting, then they could.
No.
Then they could sit.
No,
that's my understanding.
The way the standing orders read, if a councillor is not able to attend and notifies the clerk at least one clear day in advance, they can then say, I am going to approach Councillor X as a substitute, and they will then write back and say, Councillor X has agreed to be my substitute at this meeting. Councillor X can sit as a substitute. If the present system, councillors notifies the clerk with one day but does not nominate a substitute, if Councillor X is sitting there at the council meeting, he or she will not be able to sit as a substitute because they have not been nominated. This process, correct if I'm wrong, Councillor Rickles, means that so long as the councillor has officially notified the clerk in the correct manner, and even if the substitute has not been nominated, if the substitute becomes available and is at the meeting, then they can sit in place for the person who's given the apologies in the proper way. Councillor Mulhern.
Can I just say, I think this motion may need to come back to the next meeting, because when you read through, and I knew about planning, you need the planning training, but under this, you could just put something in. So I think if it was rewritten for a future meeting, with the planning as an exception, and also the Human Resources Committee as an exception.
I think the substitute would be nominated. It wouldn't just be any councillor sitting there.
Right,
it would have to be a nominated substitute.
That's absolutely
for that committee.
That's
Councillor Hartson.
I have to admit that I often forget who is on committees, and so I like the old system that we used to have, where if I couldn't turn up, I would email the clerk, and then the clerk, who knows who all the substitutes are, the clerk would email the substitute and say, is anybody available?
Yeah.
Because the way we're currently operating, it's relying on my board member to actually remember who the substitutes are, and track one of them down and say, I can't do next Tuesday, can you do it for me? So I'd much prefer to go back to what we used to do, where I just have to say, I can't make next Tuesday, and the clerk sorts out who the substitute is.
Councillor Lehman.
With regard to councillor having to write to the clerk and tell them they aren't doing it, I draw your attention to Standing Order 3, or B. Apologies must be submitted in writing to the clerk or deputy clerk prior to the meeting. That is not in the draft that we considered. That appeared after the draft had been published.
Which standing order is it?
Standing Order 3, we generally item double B. Yes, it was not in the draft.
It's right at the bottom.
Right at the bottom. It was not in the draft that was submitted. It did appear in the final one. There was no correspondence, no discussion about it in the office.
That doesn't matter in terms of this motion.
No, because what
this motion is actually talking about Standing Order 4.
Right, but the requirement is the right to the clerk.
Well, that's in standing order
4 EV.
It says that the confirms the proper office on one clear day before the meeting.
What's the purpose of 3 double B then?
I'm not sure. But this is covered by that standing order, so we're fine for this motion in terms of that.
So any other questions? So basically, the motion would allow a substitute who is present at the meeting but not nominated to attend the meeting and vote, provided the councillor hasn't given notification in the appropriate way to the clerk. The only thing we just need to be concerned about could be that if we had, say, 3 councillors gave their apologies and the meeting could be in quorum, the clerk may not necessarily know that substitutes will be available to attend unless the councillors who are not attending have confirmed that they are attending. So we could actually have a meeting where the clerk believes the meeting is in quorum and that the substitutes who would have turned up on the day.
Could happen when you sign the room?
No, because normally if the clerk knows that there's so many people, the meeting is in quorum, he can cancel the meeting. Because if it just says that I can't attend and I asked you to attend but you're not available, it could well be that 2 other substitutes are not available to attend on that day anyway, and therefore we could end up with people coming to a meeting and it's in quorum.
As I understand it, I think that's the proper procedure anyway, isn't it? I think our standing orders are different from our model standing orders. The powers allow the clerk to determine in advance if the meeting is going to be in quorum, whereas in our standing orders don't. I think you actually have to turn up and go, oh, that's not here, that's all going on there.
Councillor Nutt.
It's getting a bit complicated, and I don't think a simple show of hands is going to resolve this satisfactorily. I do think that this particular standing order should be rewritten. We've talked about quite a few things tonight to do with it, and I think it needs to be written, and I don't think it's something that we can do here sitting at the table. I would suggest that we leave it to you and the clerk to take note of the comments that have been made and then rewrite the standing order, and having done so, could you send it around all councillors for their approval so that it may be in place as soon as possible for meetings that will take place between now and the next meeting of the full council.
Can I just correct the point? We are not talking about amending a standing order because that would require a motion of 5 councillors. All this is actually saying is that the substitute can attend, if a substitute is present, a nominated substitute is present at the meeting without having been nominated by an individual councillor, they can vote at the meeting.
So is this an addition to the standing order, or is it an extra standing order?
No, basically it's just clarifying a standing order that the substitute is a substitute and doesn't have to be nominated, provided the councillor has notified the clerk in the appropriate way. Councillor Mulhern.
That's where this, that I would like it rewritten, because in the second line it does say if the councillor wishes to appoint a particular substitute, it should say a nominated substitute, not a particular substitute, because that is absolutely what confused me. It was the difference. I thought it's a bit like I can't go to planning. Would you pop in and do it for me?
No, you have to be valid. You have to be valid.
But if that's not saying it there, it should say that nominated.
Are you happy that if the wording changed to...
If the wording changed,
to
absolutely 100%
what word did you say, Councillor Mulhern?
Nominated.
Nominated. So
nominated.
Yeah.
Nominated.
Are you happy with that? So we have, I think it's a minor amendment, but it will be, and I think we need to move to a vote on it. It Simply, if the council is not able to attend a meeting, then it's up to the council to send apologies to the town clerk. If the council wishes to appoint a nominated substitute to attend in their place, they can then make their wishes known at the same time. Otherwise, at the beginning of the meeting, if there is a, shall we say, nominated substitute, nominated substitute attending, then the meeting is short of numbers, then the substitute can join the meeting. It's just clarifying that.
And it means that a meeting can go ahead where it might not be. It would seem, my point was, it just seems a shame. You've got everyone there.
I know what it is, I'm just seconding your motion.
I think Councillor Lehman has already said. So we've got proposed by Councillor Riggles, seconded by Councillor Lehman. The motion is read out. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? No, thank you.
One point to note, the JMC can appoint any member of council, any member of council.
Yes, it's not changing the standing order of nominations. Right, and so 7-2, proposed by Councillor Barnett, seconded by Councillor Lehman. I move that in recognition of the sovereignty of full council, the terms of reference of all committees be amended in such a way as to constrain the powers of said committees in passing resolutions limited to offering recommendations to full council for full scrutiny, whereafter final decision making shall be determined by resolution of full council and by no other means. We do not have a proposal at the moment for this.
I will propose, second, I will propose it.
Okay, Councillor Lehman is proposed. Do we have a seconder then? Do you want to speak to it then, Councillor Lehman?
Standing Order 3Y says no business may be transacted at a meeting of full council unless 1/3, that's 7 members, of the whole number of members of the council are present, and in no case shall the quorum of the meeting be less than 3. 7 members. That means for a majority, the full councillors out of 19 needed to pass a motion. Is that democracy?
So what that's what with this motion.
It does, but it gets worse. If you now consider committees, if they're allowed to pass motions that are binding on the council, the quorum for a committee is just 4. Now, if they're split 2-2, and the chair uses their custom vote, that means just 2 councillors have passed a resolution that's binding on the full council.
It's so long as it's within that committee's terms of reference.
So, yes, but where's the democracy in that? 10% of the councillors imposing a policy on the whole council.
Well, the others should turn up then, shouldn't they?
Well, yes, but if they don't, they don't.
Whatever happens, the voting mechanism for full council would remain the same. So it would be a resolution from committee could come to full council, and it could just be 7 people voting on it.
But at the moment, the committee can pass a resolution that is binding on the full council.
Yes.
The full council can't dispute it.
Could I just ask for a point of clarification? How do you see this working for planning? How would the planning committee makes recommendations against that? So would we delay planning decisions until it goes to full council?
Full council should have say, we're democratic.
On planning?
It means that we need to have a meeting every 2 months, we have to have a meeting every month.
So that all the councils would have to be trained?
No.
Yes.
Can't do planning without training.
They can't do planning without training.
With respect, we had a debate on the maritime hub at full council.
Yes, but that was a one-off.
We weren't all trained.
We are planning, we are looking at, obviously, one extension. Anything big, like the maritime hub, would obviously come to full council. So you would really, in that case, make planning compulsory for everybody. Let's actually have a proper planning committee. Because at the moment, we can't get people onto planning. And yes, we rely on John as a substitute all the time. So you can't do it that way. You've got to have, there's so many aspects of the council, you've got to have committees, and it can't be the full council taking those decisions.
Well, the committees can do all those secrecy, they all sort of go to council and say, this is what we think. And
And my understanding is that planning doesn't actually make resolutions, it makes recommendations, and that goes forward. I believe that this is talking about resolutions. So what we're saying is that a committee can make a resolution which is binding on the full council. Not, so the planning can still sit and make its proposals and then still go through because they are not resolutions.
But their recommendations are binding on the full council. When that goes on to the planning portal to say Whitby Town Council has said they support or they object.
Fair enough, then can we add in that with the exclusion of the planning committee?
And was that HR?
With respect, HR, where it's dealing with personal data, obviously. And there was one other
Sorry, does anyone else wish to speak?
No, I think it
That's
just
an awesome.
I think again it needs to be refined and I think come back to a future date. I don't particularly like that proposal at all. So the thing is that things like planning should have been considered, HR should have been considered and should have been included in the statements.
Councillor Alston.
I thought I understood that resolutions in the manner that Councillor Smith has described a subcommittee would word it as we recommend to full council to do X, Y and Z. So it's already within the functioning of how we function. Is that not correct?
Councillor Smith?
I believe this came up out of a resolution that had been passed by a committee and that hadn't gone through the council. And I believe that's where this whole matter came from, was that Councillor Barnett, who originally proposed this, was very upset that although he sat on that committee was making resolutions which he considered should not be within the remit of the committee, that it should have been within the remit of the council. And if it was such that the committees made resolutions and recommended to council, then I feel that that sits within what's been proposed here. So we would actually be reinforcing, this resolution actually reinforces what Councillor Houston is suggesting is already the case.
Can I just ask, so if we've been asked to write a letter, we have to wait to see the full council before we write a letter? So that's what it's saying. So any actions that come from it cannot be done until it's gone to full council. And that's what you're saying. Yes. So you don't trust the people that are nominated to your committees then, basically? Yeah.
Well, that's not that they're not trusted. It's just that there's democracy has gone out of it. If two councillors, if a committee has a quorum of 4, 2 people turn up, or 4 people turn up, it's 2-2, the chair uses their vote, the resolution is passed, 2 councillors have passed a motion that is binding on the full council. How can that possibly be democratic? It's actually 3.
The chair is a councillor as well.
Well, there's only 2 people.
We've got this motion that has been proposed and seconded. Councillor Cotton.
We've had this before, and with great respect, Councillor Barnett is anti-committee anyway. When he's made it always very clear, when we have had a particular councillor in the past who was exactly the same, who refused to be on any committees, and he felt everything should be done by the whole council on everything, which was impossible to do. I don't believe in this. I think it's wrong. I think we should carry on as we are doing. Please.
Well, Councillor Knock, and then I think we need to move to a vote.
We also need to consider the exception possibility of the JMC, which is a meeting of the council.
Yes.
It is not a separate committee, it's a meeting of the council. and you're asking the council to approve resolutions made by the JMC, which is mixture of councillors and members of the film. And to do that, all members of the council would need to be fully conversant with the complexities and complications of the JMC and the laws and covenants, high court rulings and deeds which set the thing up in the first place, which makes it impractical.
Councillor Smith.
We're all trustees of that trust, so we should all be fully conversant in the first place.
We're all trustees of the building.
Yes, and that's exactly what Joint Management Committee oversee.
Yes, but the majority of councillors don't understand the complexities behind it.
I'm just pointing
Yeah,
out
yeah,
that
yeah.
because
So-
they're all trustees.
Councillor Lady, the proposal you want to anything before we move to the vote?
No.
Right, we're voting on the proposal that in recognition of the sovereignty of full council, the terms of reference for all committees are amended in such a way as to constrain the powers of said committees in passing resolutions limited to offering recommendations to full council for full scrutiny. Whereafter final decision making shall be determined by resolution of full council and by no other means. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions?
That's up to her.
Thank you. The motion falls. Agenda